so we're here today with Carol to talk about Arthur William Berry and the experiences and memories of the family. I'm Adam and we're here with
Amanda. Shall we start?
We shall. Let's go. What do you remember about Arthur and stories or...
Well, quite a lot actually, because my mum and my nan used to talk about him all the time. I wasn't that old. I was born not that long after he was actually killed, so it was all still fresh in their mind. And they just used to talk about him all the time, what he did at home and at work. And my granddad and my nan were both in service in Kingston, and that's where they met. And apparently my granddad used to bring a rose for my nan every time he met her. He used to bring her a rose out of the garden because he was a gardener in one of the big houses there. And they got married in Kingston, and then they moved to Molesey, and my granddad then went to work for the Royal Parks, and he had a greenhouse in his garden, and he used to grow vegetables for competitions, and he used to win a lot of the competitions, local flower shows and things like that. Then they moved in one cottage and then moved to another one apparently, and my mum remembers my granddad giving her all the stuff to help move, which was about 3 doors down the road or something in those days. Then they used to go and see him when he was working in Hampton Court, and he apparently drove the first big motor mower that they had there, and they used to go and watch him. People used to stand and watch because it was all a bit of a novelty, I think. And my mum used to say, "Oh, that's my dad up there," feeling all proud about him, which she should. And they used to go and have picnic in Bushy Park. And I can remember always on Remembrance Day, we'd have the radio on, which they called it in those days, and the wireless, sorry. And we used to stand for the 1 minute silence, and I just used to think about the picture of my granddad, and I was quite young, and I've now got a picture that used to sit on my nan's mantelpiece, and it's in the original frame, broken, but it was always on her mantelpiece. I always used to look at it and think, well, that's my mum's. That was there, I think, when he not long after he was killed. It was always in the same place.
Yeah, so she could talk to him.
Yeah.
And there's his death penny.
Yeah.
They're very big, aren't they? When you see them, it's always this is a surprise of how impressive they are.
Check it down.
No,
I can't see it.
Yeah. Okay. If you want to take it down, then yeah. But they're a quite a fitting monument, aren't they? With the size of them, but that's in Pride of Place on
my nan's wall.
One of the walls. It's a full hand size, isn't it?
Yeah.
Saucer size.
I've got his cup as well. He used to drink his tea out of.
Is it his enamel or his teacup?
No, indoors.
Oh, right. His indoor cup.
Very uncomfortable cup with waves all around it.
Did she give you any information or did she have any anecdotes of things that he told you of the time when he was actually serving? Because he served in 2 or 3 different places,
Yeah,
didn't he?
He was in Ireland, and then he was in Singapore. I've got 2 little things he picked up on the beach in Singapore, and then he went over to France. But he used to come home on leave, and I didn't really hear much about it when he came home on leave. I know that my mum's, they had 4 children, and my mum was the second, and the 4th one was born in 1916, so it was obviously when he was away. I don't think he hardly saw him. It was like a baby, I suppose. Yeah, he didn't see him very much. But my mum distinctly remembers him, and he used to call, her name was Ivy, but he used to call her Maggot. I don't know why. I think it was something, yes it was, she told me she was eating an apple and a maggot crawled out of it, and she was scared of it and was screaming, and he called her Maggot after that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so she remembered about that, but I mean she remembered him really, really well, because she was born in 1908, so she was 10 when he was killed. So she can remember him quite well, and she remembers the day. I've got the telegram, or whatever it is that they sent, I've got that they sent when he was killed. She remembers it being delivered.
Oh, wow.
And apparently my nan went hysterical, and she said, go and get Mrs. somebody or other up the road, because so many of them had been killed, and they all sort of looked after each other. So whoever it was came and told my mum to go out to play. So she remembered that really well. I think he was a really, by what she says, a really nice man and a good father, because she wouldn't know so much about him, because in those days sometimes they could be a bit rule the roost, couldn't they? I think he was a really nice father by what she tells me about him. A very quiet man, I think, by what my nan and him said about him. But my nan never forgot him.
Well, you wouldn't, would you? How could you forget the man who brought a rose every time that he met you? And
he came from a gardening family because his father was a gardener. And when you look back, a lot of them were gardeners. In his family tree, there's a lot of gardeners in it. So I think that's when he was a gardener when he was 19. I know that. And then he moved to the Kingston area where he met my nan, which was quite nice for them.
Yeah, so he was used to nurturing and growing things and seeing the kind of the beauty in everything, wasn't he? So that would follow that he was.
He did it at home as well. It wasn't only a job; it was a passion, I think.
Well, prize winner. From what you say.
Yes.
Did your mum have your mum or your nan? Did they have a favourite flower or favourite vegetable that you used to grow?
My mum. I don't know if I'm going to say the right. What it is? A coreopsis? Is it yellow?
Coreopsis.
Yes, that was his favourite flower apparently. And my mum used to have coreopsis in her garden because she used to say, "Oh, it was my dad's favourite flower." I would love to have known my granddad. I would have loved to have met him, and it wasn't so many years after that I was born. So that was still fresh in everybody's mind and what they were talking about. But I went to see my granddad's grave in France when we were passing through there, which was nice.
Was that nice?
Oh yeah, it's lovely the way they keep them all. Beautiful. I wanted to go and see it before I got too old. And I did. I was really pleased to see the actual grave, and it looked exactly the same because they paid for the wives to go over to see the graves after the war. And my nan went with my uncle, and there's a picture of them. I don't know where the picture is now. I think my sister's got it. Of my nan and my uncle standing by the grave. And when I went, which was I don't know how many years afterwards, it looked exactly the same. It was just so well kept, and it was really nice to see it.
Yeah, that's at
Thierry. Yes, Chateau. Yeah. It's very small, not many graves in there, but I think that's where he must have got killed quite near to it. How he got killed was that he was a gunner, and they had the big gun. And there's so many on the gun, I don't know how many, but a German plane came over and dropped a bomb, and all of them on that gun were killed.
All of that crew were killed.
Yeah, that must have been near that area.
Yeah, I think from what I've read about him, it was where their battery was, and they specifically went to take that.
They were moving forward. They just packed up apparently to move forward. This is quite interesting. When my nan moved out of her house, she went to live with my uncle, who got a big house, and she had this big room all to herself. And they hung my granddad's picture, which was about this big, up on the wall. And in the night, it fell down the first night, and she felt it was a sort of an omen or something.
Wow.
Yeah, so she just for no reason. It was quite safe up there apparently, and it fell down.
Was it rehung, or did she leave it down?
I think she didn't hang it back again. The glass broke, and she didn't hang it back again. I think she thought he was sort of telling her, why have you moved out of our house? Because it was the house that they lived in together. I don't know, that's what she thought about it. Because I would ask questions as a little girl.
Well, of course.
I would ask questions, and then she would talk to me about it and say, oh yes, he would have done this or that, you know. That's how I found out about his gardening, and he had a greenhouse in the garden, which was quite, in those days, it was a terrace cottage. It wasn't a very big garden, so I think the greenhouse took up quite a big space in the garden by the looks of what I see. Oh yes, and he had, on the windowsill, he had some big shells, and he used to grow like succulents, but they're outdoor ones. They come up in like little rosette things. Occasionally a thing comes out the top. I don't know what they're called, but he used to have them on the windowsill, and they had these little things growing in them. And there were 2 shells.
Shells, yeah.
Big shells like that. And I've got one, and my sister's got the other one.
Oh, wow. And did he bring those back from somewhere? Or?
I really don't know where he got them from, but it's down the garden.
You don't need to go and get that, you're all right.
I probably can't find it.
Did your mum say anything about what the environment was like when he came home on leave?
No, she didn't. They had a photograph taken, like they do with all the family.
Yeah, the posing. You've seen
the picture of the mum and dad and the children. And she remembers the picture, and she was in a mood. and she's pulling her face.
Oh wow! I'm going to have to go and look at that now because I don't remember having seen the
She's
face being
standing
pulled.
there like this, and she said, I was in a mood. I didn't want to go and have my picture taken. They made me.
Because that's the archetypal Edwardian family shot, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Oh, yes,
It's
yeah.
got Arthur in his uniform, looking very smart and very proud, and then your nan, and then the
So my
children.
nan's with the youngest one on her lap, and
Yeah.
then there's the other two, and my mum didn't want to go.
She didn't
was in
want
a
to go.
mood, yeah. She was grumpy in a mood, yeah. Pulling her
Oh.
face, apparently. But,
I'll have to go back and have a look at that now, just to check.
yeah, but that they, I don't know. That's all she sort of mentioned. But I think things that she did talk about were probably when he was home on leave, but she never actually said, oh, well, when he was home on leave, because I don't think children really recognise that bit, do they, that they're home on leave. So she didn't sort of say, oh, yeah, well, he was home on leave when we did this or that.
Yeah.
It was more about before, when they used to go and see him at work, and more about what he did in his greenhouse and that. Well, he wouldn't have done that when he came home on leave, I wouldn't have thought.
No.
I don't know.
No, it depends how long he was
Yeah,
home for,
I
doesn't
don't
it?
think they came home for long,
Yeah.
did they? Not.
But that's
Sure.
that's good though that she remembers having that photograph taken.
Yeah, she
'cause that's
distinctly
really-
remembers that. And when she was in hospital, she got dementia, and she was quite a way into dementia before. She didn't know who it was. The picture, that picture was by her bed, and she used to say, "That's my dad," and she used to point it out to them. But then she got to the stage where she didn't really know who they were. But it was a long way in. She remembered.
That's
it
a
way.
long memory to have.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah, there was lots of
Going back
things
to
she'd
being
forgotten,
10,
but
yeah.
that she remembered.
Yeah. Was that picture in the house when the telegram came?
I don't know.
Because it's if you join the dots to
Yes.
it was either being developed, but they'd obviously already had it. They'd obviously had it taken, and it might have been one of the last memories that she had.
Yes, it could be, because the youngest child, I can't remember what year he was born, but he wasn't a tiny baby in the picture. He was sitting, so it could have possibly been the last time that he was home.
Did you say he was born 1916?
I know, my mum
Numbers
was 19.
stick.
It could have been. Yes, it was. It could have been the last time that he was home.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it probably was, by looking at the age of the youngest child.
Yeah. So that's one of her biggest memories. But to have that, and as you say, if she had dementia, and to hold that memory for so long, going back to being 10.
Yeah, because I mean,
9 or 10.
the dementia you get certainly less and less.
Yeah.
You can remember, and that she did remember that for an awful long time.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, she was calling me her mum at the end, so. But she still knew that was her dad. I don't know quite how she worked that out.
Yeah, we've got Carol's daughter. Karen has been sat in with us as well, and she's been listening and maybe finding out some things that she didn't know as well.
I have, and getting quite emotional as well.
Oh.
Because a lot of things I haven't heard before.
Oh.
So yeah, it's been quite emotional, but it's been lovely to hear it all.
I think we opened a door, and Carol, you just came out with just so much lovely stories.
Well, I hope
and lovely memories.
I hope I did the right thing.
Oh, it's been beautiful.